Hey guys, Spencer here with another video. So, as a lot of you may have noticed, today the preview embargo from the event a couple of weeks back for Persona 5 Royal just dropped this morning, by the time you're listening to this, which is a Monday. Basically, a whole lot of news dropped, a whole lot of controversy is now happening, and a whole bunch of Switch port begging is also happening around Persona 5. And I'm not here to talk about the Switch stuff. I'm not here to talk about the revised dialogue with some certain cutscenes in Persona 5 Royal. I am here to talk about what I really think is the biggest issue. And that is this entire Persona 5 Royal preview event. To me, I was a little bit skeptical about, okay, who is this really for? Because leading up into it happening, we knew that influencers like the fan site were invited and that a bunch of voice actors are going to be there, but we didn't really know a lot. We didn't know what they were going to be covering. We didn't really know what was all going to be there. Obviously, the game is so close to release that we all know that the game is finished and most likely through cert, final builds and stuff like that. We were correct. The preview event did have the final build of the game. But what I wanted to talk about was, why are we doing a preview event when actually normally in Atlas tradition, Persona titles and even Shin Megami Tensei titles are usually ready about a month or two in advance. So by the time this preview event happened, a lot of outlets and media coverage would be about, they'd be just playing the game and have a review code. So I thought, okay, this is really interesting. Let's see what they kind of do, but there wasn't a lot of media personnel really talking about this. And a lot of questions were up in the air, especially with me. I was wondering, okay, well, who's really going? They have one over in Europe and they have one over in LA. What's kind of going on? Let's see what happens. The actual event drops, and we find out the embargo is for later on in February, which is now passed. So now that the previews have all dropped, I'm really disappointed, and it's really hard to describe, and I'm probably going to come off as super nitpicky, but I hope through the course of this very rambly video, because I am just recording this all in one take, and I just got off work. I mainly have just been listening to preview coverage and reading all the previews about this game all day, because I wanted to soak in all of the media's opinions of this title, and basically kind of spew them back out at you in terms of not, okay, here's what we know about Persona 5 Royal, because a lot of the stuff that was shown, if not almost all of it, was very easy, in public information out there from the Japanese promotional materials, not even the full version of the game we saw. And that goes into our first big issue. Why does promoting Persona 5 Royal matter? The game is out March 31st, 2020, PlayStation 4 only, and the reason I say why does promoting this matter is because this is a hard sell. This isn't like a slam dunk NBA Jam level easy kind of win here. This is a game that came out less than 3 years ago, releasing on the same platform that it launched on, not counting PlayStation 3 obviously. And while it has tons and tons and tons of new changes, content, music, story, new characters, etc., marketing that is very hard for the general consumer. And I would understand a preview event like this if you wanted all the outlets out there to get as much time with the game as they possibly could at this event, and then move along and basically just get everyone super excited about it. Once you let the press get their hands on the game, the press will then tell everyone, oh my god, here's all the new stuff with Royal, this is fantastic, let me tell you why you should buy this. Another reason why Persona 5 Royal is going to be a hard sell for your average consumer out there, especially if someone who already has Persona 5 or is interested in Persona 5. As I've mentioned on the podcast previously before, Persona 5 is part of the greatest hits line for PlayStation 4, and you can buy those games for $20 or less. So even if you're not catching Persona 5 on sale, its MSRP now in the United States is at least going to be $20. I've seen it for $10 and even cheaper for brand new physical copies. Persona 5 Royal is going to be releasing at $60 for its standard edition. That is digitally and physically. That is already going to be a lot harder to sell. So you're saying, okay, I'm going to be paying at least twice or more amount of money for Royal. What is it giving me that Persona 5 can't? And I was really interested to see how all these media outlets would. I looked up, literally, I'm recording this at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time right now, and I was, like, reading and watching as much as I could. I listened to preview coverage from GameSpot, Kinda Funny, trying to think of them all off the top of my head now. I listened to the fan sites impressions video, looked up the following preview articles by places like Polygon, Dual Shockers, anyone and everyone who was invited out there. I soaked up as much impressions as I could because I really wanted to know what the takeaway from this event was. And unfortunately, the biggest takeaway I had were two things. And obviously, the first one's going to be a lot more minor. The second one's going to be a lot more ramblier and kind of get into the weeds. First one, it was way more of a rub shoulders with industry and voice actor people and be there for the preview event, but it's also like half of the party. It's not, hey, we are here for the game, and we are just going to pretty much kind of be up in the game. Like, they had a whole themed room with classrooms, as well as, like, kind of looking like Kamoshida's Palace. As someone who has been to preview events in the past, I can at least say for ones that I've been flown out to and there to check out the game, the ones that I've attended have been very much like, okay, I am going to this place, I am checking into a hotel probably, I'm looking at the game for a day or two max, and I'm writing my impressions. Those impressions go up shortly after, or I'm capturing footage, blah, 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 blah. I've actually never been to a preview event myself where it is more like an industry party that happens to have a preview build of a game. Major problem number two, and this is the biggest point of contention I wanted to get into. The media was offered the full version of the game on PlayStation 4 units, and they were given the full version of the game with 4 save slots. I don't remember exactly for each one, but you were able to check out Kamoshida's Palace, Kamoshida's boss fight, Kichijoji, which I probably totally butchered the name of, and that's just the new area in Tokyo that you could explore, as well as Kichijoji at night. So these 4 save slots gave you a couple of new features in the game of Royal. They gave you like a little bit of an impression of what's kind of new in the beginning of the game. So this is the problem. Persona 5 Royal's biggest and most beefiest piece of new content with like whole new areas, stories, and cinematics is in the 3rd semester. The 3rd semester is pretty late game content, and all of the preview coverage is stuff that you would see within the first 10 to 20 hours of the game, and it is very, very, very similar to Persona 5. So a lot of press and preview coverage has been relating the game to how similar it is to Persona 5, how it has some changes, but a lot of the press aren't super well up and know the comparisons between, oh, hey, this layout in Kamoshida's dungeon is super different compared to the one in Royal. Not a lot of people have been talking about that. The biggest new features everyone's been bringing up are these really, really trivial things that, like, okay, yes, they're new, but they're not going to sell your average consumer or even a skeptical fan who's wondering, what is Persona 5 Royal going to do for me to warrant its $60 price tag? So a lot of places have been talking about, I'm just going to split these all up and just kind of talk one at a time in terms of topics so I don't ramble any more than I already am. So, number one, the big thing I've heard, grappling hook. Oh my god, the grappling hook is so crazy. I can't believe the original game didn't have it. The grappling hook is a really cool way to get around, like, palaces and dungeons that wasn't in the base game. The grappling hook is basically just a way to kind of fast travel through areas without having to go to hideouts. It's cool, but it's not doing anything crazy in terms of changing up how you go through the dungeons. Especially in Kamoshida's dungeon. Kamoshida's dungeon is very minor in terms of those changes. Like, yes, you can skip through large portions of it if you've already gone through them before, but at the same time, like, it's not like you're Batman in Arkham City. You're not looking and targeting areas. There are very specific points in all of the palaces where you can interact with them. You can know you're interacting with the... you know that you can interact with your grappling hook when your hand starts glowing. So, the only other feature we know that the grappling hook really can do in terms of gameplay is one of the bonuses you get through your confidants is that you can actually get the drop on shadows and use your grappling hook to ricochet yourself towards them and just get the drop on them without having to sneak up from really up close and personal. So, grappling hook, really cool. it's not a make or break kind of thing. It is a quality of life thing more than a actual piece of additional gameplay that people are really asking for. Number 2 is Kasumi. For such a major new character to this game, it's really weird that all of the demo files never let you play as Kasumi. They were too early in the game to have her unlocked, I'm pretty sure. Also, mind you, I have followed Royal a lot, but I've actually not played and seen a lot of footage from the Japanese one outside of what the Japanese PR campaign was like. So, the only bit of gameplay featuring Kasumi is a interaction of meeting her at school in the rain, giving her your umbrella, and then dropping her off at the train station. It is a very short interaction. You get a little bit of a idea of who Kasumi is, but you're far from like, okay, I know who this character is, I know what makes her tick. All we know is that she is a honor roll student, people have misconceptions of her at school, and she has a dad. That's really as much as we kind of get into. It is not even 4 minutes of footage, and all of these preview coverages keep mentioning, oh my god, Kasumi's so great. Like, I legitimately have seen preview coverage where people, after seeing her for less than 5 minutes, were like, oh, Kasumi's gonna be new best girl. And this isn't supposed to dog on Kasumi. It's like, okay, I'm aware you want to talk about her, but you have so little footage that you've seen of her yourself. Why would you, like, hype her up this much? It's just really, really weird. And, like, no one had any game time with her at all. So no one really knows how she played. No one talked about, like, how she works in palaces. No one even talked about her, like, confidants or what, like, leveling her up is going to be like. You saw her for less than 5 minutes and, hey, she's a cool new character. And yes, Kasumi looks very, very cool, but we still know nothing about her in terms of English marketing and stuff. Point number 3, and I cannot believe I have to stress this. I have heard so many people say that you can play darts, true, and you can play billiards, not true. So in the new area of town, the two biggest main focal points is that you can play darts, which is its own fully fledged minigame, and that's really, really cool. Number 3 is that billiards is an optional activity. It is an activity that you go through in terms of text boxes. You are not sitting out there like Shenmue playing a game of billiards with a bunch of sailors or even the other Phantom Thieves. Billiards is just a cosmetic kind of thing. Would have been cool that it's there. I'm not saying that it should be brought up as a complaint, but it's just one of those things of just like, okay, this isn't Yakuza. This new area isn't going to be like a new district like Shibuya, and like it's not even like fair to even say it's like as deep as PS2 Yakuza. Towns in new city areas in Atlas games are really cool and they have lots of like vibrant life and new music, but you're selling them way, way, way deeper than they have any right to be. And while yes, it is cool that this is the new area that you can explore in Persona 5 Royal, you're still going to see everything in that town outside of social and story events within like less than 5 minutes. Yes, the mini games are cool, there's new shops, but it's not like a crazy, wow, I can't believe we lived the whole game of Persona 5 without any darts. It's like, yes, it's cool that darts is there, but these are not the things you want to be like advertising the game with. The only mention of new music I saw was the opening animation. You want to know why? Because every bit of gameplay outside of the new city area had no new music. Well, and also the battle theme, but this just whole goes to show no one's really talking about the new music. I know there's not a ton of new music in Royal, but there is still a considerable amount of new music and the new battle themes and different stuff like that I would have really appreciated being talked about. So without kind of getting more into the weeds, I want to talk about how I would have done things and how Atlas might want to go about this going forward. Not even with like other titles, like when they finally announced Persona 5S and other titles down the line. I more want to keep the focus on Royal, and with that, I feel like if you absolutely, at the end of the day, gun was to your head, you had to do this preview event and invite press and fans out, invite them out and just make them have the whole day with the game. Let them get as far as they want, or maybe like give them different saves that are just super spread out. Like give them one in April, one in July, one in December, and then like one in the new segment of the game. Yes, this is going to be spoilers, but at the same point, you would hope that if someone is going to Persona 5 Royal, it is going to be someone who is familiar with it enough to kind of sell it, because And I know that obviously wasn't... There were people who were covering Persona 5 Royal who've never played the original P5. The problem when you get someone who's never played Persona 5 to sell Royal, you just sound like you're selling Persona 5 again in something that should just be simple DLC, and it's really hard to get the complexities of how new content is distributed, how these new confidants work, like why having a new third semester into the game is a really big deal, and how that couldn't happen in the base version of Persona 5. And obviously there are going to be people out there, and this is true, yes, Persona 5 Royal could have been DLC. That is just not how Atlus works as a company, and it's kind of a mute point to make as an argument. Yes, it could be one way. Yes, you can argue it should be the other. That is its own kind of discussion I don't even really want to get into. Trying to kind of wind down on my rambling and go into how I would have done it. Try and get people there who were fans of Persona 5, or have at least expressed a lot of interest and want to show off what makes Royal unique. Everything we've seen in the marketing does not do that. Marketing has, for lack of a better word, really failed in terms of showing the uniqueness of Royal and what justifies that $60 price tag. So hopefully I don't sound too hard. At the end of the day, I really want to stress these couple of factors and just kind of end the video because I've rambled for way too long and I need to eat. Number one, I love Atlus. I love their games, I love Persona, and I love Shin Megami Tensei, as hopefully is obvious through my last, 8 years of covering the series and whatnot for the podcast and now on this channel. And I can see how Persona 5 Royal is such an easy flop in the West, because you are coming out on one system in the end of its lifetime where interest is absolutely at its lowest. Your only guaranteed sales right now are going to be original diehard fans of Persona 5 who are obviously going to buy it. There's a lot of interest in Persona 5 Royal, but guess what? One of the things that made Persona 5 so exciting is it was that jumping in point that could attract tons and tons and tons of new people. And from the 3+ years that Persona 5 has been out on PlayStation 4, even going back to the 2016 release in Japan, there have been millions and millions and millions of new PlayStation 4 owners who have never touched or never tried Persona 5. I still see people in our Facebook group join who've never actually played it, and I never see people who are like, oh, should I wait for Royal? A lot of people who I've seen even talking about it pretty much know, okay, Royal is a thing that's happening, but no one's really like, oh, okay, what should I kind of do? They're just going to play Persona 5, because they don't know that they're missing out on an experience. And trust me, if you want to talk about a harder sell outside of the $60 argument we had through this video, imagine if someone has just recently played Persona 5, and there is absolutely no benefit outside of a few healing items and financial reasons in the game. Your benefits from bringing over a save from Persona 5 to Royal are very, very minor, because none of your story actually transfers. You are starting over from scratch when that game finally comes out in English. So you have to give a really convincing argument for people to not only want to play this game if they've played Persona 5 even relatively recently, but also at the end of the day drop that $60 and hopefully support this game. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that people looked at this preview coverage and thought, holy crap, there's a girl with red hair, there's a new town where I can do darts and definitely not play billiards, and there is a grappling hook. I am super sold on this game. Let me lay down my $60. Ho doggy. I would love to be wrong. Please let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. Either way, I would love to know what you guys think about this. How do you guys think Atlus has handled the promotional side of Persona 5 Royal, as well as in terms of media coverage? What do you guys think? Who are some good advocators of Persona 5 Royal in the media? Give those recommendations. Give a shout out if you want. And actually, I will say, to end on a kind of positive note, which is a little bit of a backhanded compliment, but this is true. So I would say the best coverage I've seen in terms of discussing Persona 5 Royal, Kind of Funny Games has a impressions up for Persona 5 Royal, featuring a discussion between Blessing, Joey Noelle, and every now and then Barrett is talking about it, who has played a lot of Persona 5, but he actually did not go to the preview event. Barrett had one of the most appropriate reactions after listening to their feedback, because basically Blessing and Joey were super big fans of Persona 5 Royal, and they were excited to play it. They did the preview event, and after seeing how similar it was to Persona 5, they kind of went, oh, okay, well, this is releasing in a really busy time with Animal Crossing, Doom, Resident Evil, and Half-Life, stuff like that. I'm probably going to wait. I don't need to jump back into a 100+ hour RPG if this is the most new content they have in the beginning of the game. Which is how I think a lot of people are going to feel after not only seeing the preview coverage, but also seeing early parts of the game. But I think the biggest takeaway I took from that was, after hearing that discussion, and I'm probably messing up this line a little bit, so apologies if I misquote Barrett a little bit. Barrett said, this preview event kind of failed in the sense of they gave you the crumbs when they should have shown you the cake, which is so true. They showed like the little tiny bits of things that are new, and there's this huge, giant, moist, thick with 3 C's piece of cake in terms of new content. Because like Atlas has said, even Atlas West, there's over 30 hours of new story content in Royal. And a hour-plus gameplay demo with multiple save slots and dozens of journalists from both sides of the ocean couldn't really convey that to a audience, and it's just a really big shame. I hope it's not too late. I hope the game still sells well. Obviously, if you guys are interested in the game, let me know as well in the comments below. But yeah, let me know what you also think of this kind of more rambly type of video. Apologies if I got super all over the place. I've just been at work all day absorbing all of this coverage in and getting, for lack of a better word, just really disappointed at how this preview event led to a bunch of previews that just kind of fell flat. And for all of my friend groups and circles, I've seen absolutely no one coming away from these previews being more excited or being attracted to Royal who already weren't from the announcement. Either way, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate anyone who subscribes. Give me recommendations. Let me know what you guys think of this type of video. What do you want to see me cover in the future? I am super duper open. Have a good night, guys. See ya.